This ain't advice. I'm not your advisor. And as they say in the biz, slap that subscribe button. We're only about 100,000 away from 1 million. We're almost there. Welcome to another Buck Talk mailbag episode. Thanks for tuning in. Let's check out today's question. 529 versus savings account. You just had a little one. Congratulations. And you're starting a savings account. Ooh, Buffy doesn't like to hear about that. Your question is in a worst case scenario where the child does not want to go to school at all. Is a 529 better with a 10% penalty or a savings account with 1.7%? Or is there an alternative? It's going to be pretty hard to say. We have to make a lot of assumptions. 529 is probably better than a 1.7% savings account. We'll run the numbers in just a second. There is an alternative though. So you could just invest for that child, probably called a UTMA or UGMA account, where you'd be basically opening a brokerage account that would be theirs when they're 18. Now, it would be theirs when they're 18. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell you about your legal rights, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing you can do to stop them from getting the money unless you convince them to put it into a trust at that point. So they will definitely have access to it when they're 18 if you do it through a UTMA. Same thing if you do a savings account in their name versus one in yours that you plan to just gift to them. The other thing about the 529 is you may, if there's a chance they're going to go to private school, high school, middle school, etc., maybe you can use some of it there, and maybe you'll have a better idea what their plans will look like. You get to high school, start spending a little bit on a private high school, if that's in the cards. Let's look at the numbers. All right, so I give us a head start here, lined us up with the basics, and this will be the year. Move that over. And let's just look at 15 grand and assume you invest it right at the beginning, and let's run it for 20 years, just for the sake of argument. So 15 grand, and we will give you 1.7% per year. That should all work. So at the end of that, you're going to have $21,000. Now, big factor, how's the 529 going to do, right? Unclear, don't know. Let's start with 5% and look at their, well, I could probably actually just do one of these, make life a little easier. I'm going to give you 5% a year. And, oh, we missed something. Oh, this came over. Okay, didn't want that. Just drop it down. Okay, we got 40,000. Careful, Buffy. So, when we look at 40,000, we want to do after tax for both of these. The savings account, it's probably not really going to be much tax. It will be ordinary income, but if it's really in your kid's name, they'd get the standard deduction. It'd basically be zero. So we'll just assume that this is actually the bottom line for the savings account, 21,000. And then we'll do after tax, and we'll do tax and penalty. So the growth on here, the growth is going to be what's taxed and penalized. So the gross is about 25,000, and even if you're in California, the kid's not gonna have a high tax rate, and the penalty is 10%. So let's say somehow this kid's paying 40% taxes plus 10% penalty, so you'd be left with 50% of that growth plus the original 15,000. So that leaves you 27K. All right, so that's a pretty big difference. And we can actually figure out what the break-even rate of return would be. So we do a goal seek here. So goal seek, we're going to set this equal to 21,014 by changing that. Boom. So as long as your return is greater than 3%, 529 looks a little better. The UTMA, so this might be interesting too. So this isn't quite going to work. I have to drag this one over. Buffy hates it when I use my mouse with Excel. And of course we got the same numbers, right? But the taxes are a little different. So we have the same 39,000, but this is actually tax to capital gains rates. So even being conservative, maybe like a 25% tax rate, it might even be 0. So you might even get to keep all that, but let's be conservative with it. So same deal, do this minus this, that's the growth, and we'll say he gets to keep 75% of it. Again, I think that's probably being overly conservative. You probably get to keep more like 100% of it. And then of course you get to keep the basis. So now we're looking at 33,000, okay? So that's not bad at all. Well, I'll show you. You probably want to see it. So instead of using this one, we can use the pre-tax one. So we'll set this one to 33,600 and do that. Okay. So here we have like an interesting spread, because if you're able to get 4.1% returns in the 529 and he does use it for college, then you're in the same place as if he's the UTMA and he got 5%. So you're basically getting like an extra 0.9% a year by putting it in the 529. That'd be one way to think about it. Obviously, if this number's 6, the gap starts to get bigger. If this number, if it's 2, then obviously it's worse. When we saw the break even was about 3. So that's the way it is.